Francis spent the better part of used to say, these pilgrims
I mean,
now say they feel...
if this doesn't, like, show you what the wrong and the right church is, like, there's no point in debating anymore. I mean, we're dealing with people that are, like, fully in delusion. You're saying you want me to debate Protestants and Catholics on the book of Genesis? I don't know if anybody's really wanting to do that. I mean, I'm sure there's some Protestant or Catholic who wants to debate it, but to be honest with you, man, like I'm kind of tired of finding and trying to find the Roman Catholics that want it. I'm over it, man. I mean, for me, Tim Gordon was kind of the last one. I mean, we're at the point where it's like, if you still want to be a Roman Catholic, go do it, dude. Go be gay, and I'm good. So I just don't see much more point in trying to reason with people. I feel like the Tim Gordon debate was the last thing I had to say on that topic. Now, Roman Catholics can always call in. It's always open for them. But, like, I'm not going to go out hunting another high-profile Roman Catholic because I just don't, like, who even is there? And I'm not talking about, oh, you won't debate so-and-so with 2,000 followers because you're scared. I'm talking about anybody. No, there's no incentive to debate a person with 2,000 followers. You're correct. It's not because I'm scared. It's just another waste of my time, and it's giving some goober a bunch of traction that I don't want to give traction to. So, you won't debate Leather Daddy Albrecht? We tried for years to set up debates with Albrecht. Ubi tried to set up debates. All he does is play phone tag gay games with you. He's never going to actually do a debate. It's not hard to set up a debate. We do it all the time. Scam Shamu, never going to do a debate. Plus, he's an insane person, so what's the point of trying to debate? You can't debate insane people. Well, why won't you talk to Brother Nathaniel? Because he's an insane person. Well, so? What do you mean, well, so? Like, dude, why are you even here, man? Like, if you want to go be with insane people, go do it, dude. Like, nobody's making you be here. Like, I'm over it. Okay? I am over it, honey. I talked to Ubi the other day, and he said that, you know, debating on the internet theology these days, it's not like it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was very academic. It was a lot of nerds. It was a lot of quotes, a lot of references of books. And nowadays, debating Roman Catholics is debating screeching 16-year-olds. It's just not, because there's nobody else really that would be compelled to adopt that religion other than screeching teenagers. And I feel bad for Tim. I like Tim. Get along with him on a personal level really well. Like his family. Great family. His wife's really cool. But, I mean, we were dimming the other day, and it's just like nothing that I said or argued in the debate has registered. So it's like, this is what it was like with Ibarra 10 years ago, where you would have these long conversations. You would think you're making headway in terms of, you know, I just want this person to understand what I'm arguing. And you think you've made headway, and then the next day, you never had that conversation. It's back to like repeating the Roman. They're like mynah birds, right? Roman Catholics are like the mynah birds that just sort of chirp the same phrases, and it's almost like the Oprah shit, but with Roman Catholics, right? Like the Roman Catholics think that if they just say this stuff, it'll manifest. If I just say that there's not a bunch of gay stuff with Pope Leo in the Vatican, it'll just manifest. Yo, dog, I'm about to manifest a beige trad church. If I just gibber and repeat it on repeat, it'll just go away. Oh, I forgot to mention here, we gotta have our, I mean,
now say they feel...
if this doesn't like show you what the wrong and the right church is, like there's no point in debating anymore. I mean, we're dealing with people that are like fully in delusion. Like, I'm done. They're like, my job is done. My job's complete.
That they have been participating in vigils, talks, and masses.
And there's really not any reason even to interact with most of these people anyway. I'm not talking about Tim. I'm talking about whoever would even be. Like, Trent Horn. Trent is terrible. Like he's not I don't mean personally. I don't know Trent personally. I was saying, like, as an apologist, he's garbage, dude.
Rome in these days,
Matt Fradd. I mean, who else is there?
including one celebrated by an Italian bishop who drew a sustained standing ovation this morning.
So here they're processing the rainbow cross into the Vatican. And this was done with Leo's approval and permission. So what are you talking about? Oh, it doesn't count. The Pope didn't do it from the chair. It doesn't count. It never counts. It's never from the chair. Never counts. There's never a contradiction because it's a cult. So, yeah, I know Matt Fradd's not even an apologist, but like who else is there to debate? By the way, there was one guy that was friends with Tim Gordon, supposedly a professor, but he had like 5 followers, and he was like, I will debate you on history of the papacy. Well, I thought he meant he'll debate my challenge of the geopolitics of the papacy in the 20th century. No, he meant debate me on medieval papal I'm like, I'm not going to debate you on medieval papal documents. I want to debate you on the 20th century explanation for the actions of the papacy. And it was some guy. I'm not trying to be mean. It's just some dude with 5 followers. I'm like, come on, man. Do they don't have anybody who can actually just defend a simple challenge? My challenge is that geopolitical explanations are a better explanation for the actions of the papacy in the last couple centuries than the supposed claim of Petrine infallible charism. That's my challenge. I want a Roman Catholic apologist. This is the last Roman Catholic debate I'll do, because none of them are left that are any good. Tim was the last one. Some Roman Catholic, if they will stand up and debate the geopolitical CIA Mossad angle, let's do it. But I guarantee you, none of them will. I've been waiting for 2.5 years for that specific challenge. And I've asked them all. I've emailed professors. I've DM'd multiple Catholic academics. I've asked Tim, tell all of your professor friends, academic friends, I want to debate this topic. Well, is there any Roman Catholic that will even touch the geopolitical side of the stuff? Not one. Not one of them will. What about the EP? Do we talk about that all the time? I share Father John Whiteford's stuff all the time, calling out the EP. You won't talk about it in your church. Yes, we do. What are you talking about? Motoko?
Hey, Jay. How's it going, man?
Hey.
Hey, what's going on? I just wanted to know if I could flush your argument by you in regards to Roman Catholicism.
Hold on one second. Yeah. To the guy asking the question, yeah. What about Michael Knowles? Why won't you debate Michael Knowles? Guys, Michael Knowles deferred to Tim Gordon. Tim Gordon is the backup guy that Michael Knowles looks to. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, especially in regards to Roman Catholicism and some of the arguments, especially for low information Catholics, in terms of them always pointing to the keys in the Bible. I've heard your argumentation on, the keys are defined as, like preaching the gospel, universal binding, and the sacraments. And I think there's one more. So
it's jurisdiction, preaching the gospel, celebration of the sacraments, etc.
Exactly. And then you said that if if this was given to all the rest of the apostles later on in Matthew 18:18, then what does Peter have that they don't? But I was wondering the fact that I still don't see why we grant them that when I don't see how the keys are geographically tied to Rome, because the Bible doesn't mention anything about Rome, and from my understanding is that the martyrdom should not allow the keys to just be placed solely in Rome.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, because Vatican I states that it's not based on Paul and Peter.
It's based on Peter dying in Rome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been thinking that this is a strong argument. I just wanted to make sure because you have more of the history than I do, but I just don't see how they can tie the keys directly to Rome, especially when you also mentioned that.
Right. No, the keys are, I agree with you. The keys are stated to be, I think, given to Peter honorifically first because he says the confession of the deity of Christ first.
Exactly, 3 times.
But there's nothing specific to Rome about the keys, especially given that Rome admits that there's 3 Petrine sees.
Exactly.
So there's no reason why that charism of infallibility is somehow exclusive to Rome. And in fact, to your point, if you were going to try to argue that there was some special charism of infallibility unique to Rome, it seems like it would include Peter and Paul.
Exactly.
And the Vatican explicitly says, no, it has nothing to do with Paul.
Exactly. It literally denies it. So I've been using this recently, and I just think it's really good for low information Catholics because it stops us from getting into all the councils and all these different things with Honorius and all that kind of stuff that people just don't have the time to tie to.
Right.
And they always run back to, well, he got the keys, that's special. But if we hit them with both that is not special because all the apostles get it, but yet you can't even tie it to Rome, then it just defeats the whole argument. It's just like an ultimate presupposition to me.
I think you're right. I think that is a better approach because the whole thing is resting on that assumption that there's something unique about the city of Rome, and then when you really press Roman Catholics on it, it really just defaults back into, well, that's a tradition.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, from what? Where?
From the papacy.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, great points there, Motoko Satoshi. I appreciate that. Really good points. He's right. Sometimes it's difficult to remember in the heat of discussion, to go back to the basics and the assumptions like that, because you get all sort of off in the weeds. Well, what about Honorius and this and that? Let's read this real quick before we go to SBM, because this is, of course, the weekly scandal. The scandal of the week is Leo's interview about gay stuff. Okay, so I was a little surprised to see Lofton deviating from his Pope-splaining a little bit, because he's still a Pope-splainer, but he's even seeming to say, he put up a video saying something like, I'm trying to remember how Lofton worded it. Something like, be prepared, there might be a change about the Skittles in Rome. So let's see what Leo actually said in this interview. This is a translation, so who knows if this is it. If you point this out, the Roman Catholics, it's mistranslated, he didn't say that. What I'm trying to say is that Francis said very clearly when he said todos, 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 everyone is invited into the church. I don't invite a person in because they are not of a specific identity. So he's admitting that gay is an identity, which it's not, but that's already a problem right there. I invite a person in because they are a son or daughter of God. Well, you're not actually a son or daughter of God just by existing or being a human being. You have to be baptized to be a son or daughter of God. So again, more ambiguity here as to what he's referring to. You are all welcome. Not all people are welcome. That's not actually true. You cannot be a vicious, unrepentant person and still welcomed in the church. You must at least be repenting. Let's get to know each other and respect each other. Okay, but it's not about acceptance and respect. It's about virtue and vice, good and evil. So notice there's nothing about good and evil. It's all about tolerance and acceptance. At some point, when specific questions will come up, and he's talking, this is all in the context of Skittles, people want the church doctrine to change. They want attitudes to change. I think we have to change attitudes before we can think about changing what the church says about any given question. Now, wait a minute. The church doesn't change in its morals. So even the possibility which is being entertained here is itself proof. What more evidence do you Roman Catholics need? Oh, well, there is no evidence, right? Because notice, disproving evidentialism, the issue isn't even evidences. So that notice when everybody says cope, everything is cope. The more you see people talking about and using and repeating mindlessly the phrase cope, it evidences the point that we make, that evidentialism is false. If evidentialism were true, people wouldn't vehemently double down, triple down, quadruple down in the face of mountains of counter evidence. And yet, that is exactly what they do. So the guy that called me a cult leader today, who, by the way, wouldn't show up to debate, shocker, in the face of mountains of evidence, can't acknowledge that there's a problem at the top of his church. He says, attitudes must change before we can think about changing what the church says. That doesn't even make sense. Attitudes have nothing to do with church doctrine, and church doctrine doesn't change. So, remember the delusion of all the trad cats acting like this guy was going to be somehow a based in trad? Like, what? Again, it's like they don't even realize that the religion is already solidified in the Vatican II documents and a long time ago. Now, Miles here in the chat says, let me read the rest of Leo's quote. He says, I find it unlikely, highly unlikely, at least in the near future, that the church's doctrine in terms of sexuality could change. In other words, it's possible to change, it's just unlikely in the near future. What? Regenerate, yes, I will allow you back. Regenerate Sam, you would like to come back, he says, for $5. He had a connection issue. Yeah, I'll bring you right back up. Now, I did miss this. So Mr. Feast says, you missed this part, Jay. Let's read what this says. This is the same interview. Earlier this year, there was a discussion, or there was a jubilee for permanent deacons. So all men but their wives were present. I had the catechesis one day with a fairly large group of English-speaking permanent deacons. The English language is one of the groups where they are better represented because there's parts of the world that are never really promoted the permanent diaconate. Itself became a question. Why would we talk about ordaining women to the diaconate if the diaconate itself is not yet properly understood and developed and promoted in the church? And what are the reasons for that? So while I think there was a significant inspiration at the time of the council when the permanent diaconate was reinstated, it has not become in many parts of the world what I think some people thought it would be. So there are some questions that have to be asked around that issue. So, in other words, it's an open question still. Can we change the gay stuff? Can we have women deacons, which is the step before women priests? Open questions. They're not open questions, by the way. So,
hello, Jay. How are you?
Good. What's up?
So, Jay, excuse me for my English language. I'm not a native, so I'm torn up between Catholicism and Orthodoxy. I'm currently a Catholic, but I'm torn up with the way that scholastics use philosophy in terms of epistemic justification, and they cannot handle David Hume very well, and even cut in philosophy. And I'm torn up with Orthodoxy because of the Catholic claims of papacy, the historical claims of in the ecumenical councils, and that's.
Well, hold on. What are you talking about? Where is Vatican I papacy in the ecumenical councils?
No, the first ecumenical council and the sixth ecumenical council, and how the scholastics render their philosophy with Hume, and I feel like scholastics, as a Catholic myself, forgot about the last 500 years of philosophy in terms of Hume and Kant. Mm-hmm. probably of the natural theology. Can Catholicism reconcile with modern philosophy? I mean, I'm torn up between Catholics and Orthodox.
Catholicism did reconcile with modern philosophy, and that's why it is what it is. It is process philosophy.
And what? How about their natural theology? Because
that's what led to where it is. That's precisely the false roots and foundations that led them to accept. Gaudium et Spes teaches Marxism. I mean, again, like everything that I've been detailing in the last few weeks. Just think of the last couple months, guys, for the Roman Catholics. How bad it's been. We had the debacle of Trent Doherty and all these goobers defending that Muslims and Christians are worshiping the same God. And then Michael Lofton comes to the rescue with the Vatican documents pointing out that Muslims can be saved in Islam, according to the Vatican teaching. He's correct. That is the Vatican teaching. And then we get, like, there's a scandal every week. I can't even keep up with it. What was the next one? The next one was Doherty crashing out and teaming up with Skittles people, like we said. Then it was what was the next one? I've already lost track of all of this. Like, it's like every week they make a hubbub and we get rewarded by the papacy, right? We get our staking rewards from trusting in and staking our arguments on the papacy, and we get weekly staking rewards. After what was the Voice of Reason was the next scandal. Thank you, VOR, Voice of Sleason. I would like to kiss your plump booty. By the way, probably I have a problem. Sorry. Please accept me back into being a public minister, just like Jimmy Swaggart. I'm the Latin lover, like Jimmy Swaggart. So then we got, after Voice of Reason, what was next? Was it gay-pacy? The gay papal stuff? I've already forgotten. Anyway, it's like every week, dude. And if it's not an argument that the papacy is false because there's bad people. This is every low-tier Roman Catholic thinks that's the argument. You got bad people in the Orthodox Church. Yes, that's not the argument. Nobody ever made that argument. That's the dumbest argument ever. The argument is that you have a system-level contradiction that doesn't allow for you to fix Vatican II, to reform Vatican II, to fix the papacy. You can't do any of that with an ironclad, already set in stone system. That's the argument. Just like that guy that called in earlier. I'm not trying to be mean, but he didn't even understand the argument. He thought I was arguing that we have development of doctrine and they don't. That's not what I argued. Tim Gordon's bad debate performance. That was the next one. Exactly. I feel like I'm missing one, though. And then we had the gay procession. So it's just like Catholic loss after Catholic loss after Catholic loss after Catholic loss each week. And then their response is Dyer's a cult leader. That's all they have. When they're at that point, like, all they have is to just talk about how bad I am. Alex, do you have notes when you're studying the differences of Orthodox and Catholics? Like, key points to share? I mean, I don't have notes because, in the sense of like some specific notebook, because it's a topic that I've spent 20 plus years in. So it's kind of something I know secondhand for the most part. I mean, every now and then I learn a new thing that I kind of didn't know or forgot. I had forgotten that Gaudium et Spes teaches socialism and Marxism. So that was something that I was reminded of, the Vatican II document. We have, of course, the Errors of the Latins book, which is Sacred Heart, which will be is essentially a compendium of these kinds of notes, so to speak. But I mean, we have, just infinite live streams where I've covered contradictions of Vatican I versus previous papal teaching, contradictions of Vatican I versus Vatican II. If you search my channel, you search YouTube, I mean, there's just basically an infinity of live streams covering these topics. I've covered these topics so many times. I am getting tired of covering these topics, honestly. And I feel, like I said, like there's really not any point in debating anymore. There's no Roman Catholics left to debate, really. If you're looking for kind of easy videos that pop and hit, I think I did. This one is good right here about Muslims and Jews and Christians worshiping the same God. That's a pretty easy kill shot right there. There's a good one right here about, where's it at? This one dogmatic contradiction ends Roman Catholicism. That's a good one. This one right here, all the religions lead to God, Francis said. That's another kill shot. I think between these three, I mean, these are three kill shots. You don't need to go into like PhD level discussions of natural theology. Like it's not even that hard to. I mean, we just had a gay procession in the Vatican. Like, I mean, like what else do you need? Like, I mean, at a certain point you realize like there is no intellectual argument that's going to convince people. You know what I mean? Like they're going to have to be convinced on their own. If Francis saying all the religions leading God doesn't work, if the papal teaching about the Pope as an emperor, a world emperor necessary for salvation doctrine, if that doesn't show you a contradiction, and if they're worshiping the same God as the Muslims doesn't, I mean, if none of those things are convincing and they don't convince your friends, then maybe it's time to move on. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to keep beating a dead horse. Because I think those are some of the strongest. That's not all of them. I mean, Gaudium et Spes teaching socialism and Marxism, I mean, that should be enough. Like, how is that not a kill shot? Like, why would I accept a church that's telling me in its most recent dogmatic documents that I need to be a socialist Marxist? I mean, it's like, and it was former Roman Catholics that reminded me of that. I didn't even remember that. Right here. Marxism, socialism is taught in Gaudium et Spes, right here. Let me find the actual section where we talk about the documents. It's right here. It starts at about an hour in, or an hour and 20 minutes in. Like, how is this not a kill shot? But it's like, if they're not going to be... Look, Roman Catholics are obsessed with politics. Okay, fine. So let's set aside Nostra Aetate and all the insane level ecumenism and Lumen Gentium and Nostra Aetate. Let's talk about politics and the Marxism, socialism of Gaudium et Spes. Oh, well, I don't have to accept that document. Well, I mean, at this point, what is the point of Roman Catholicism? If I come into this and I literally don't have to accept anything I don't like, then there's no point to it. There is no point to the papal office as some sort of authority. Because when you really get into the nitty gritty, all these people pick and choose the documents that they want. Then the papacy is meaningless. All right, thank you guys. Everybody have a good night. And try to get to church tomorrow if you can. And I'll see you later.